He blew up 3 cheap air mattresses on his floor to pay the rent. That tiny, desperate hack later grew into a $100 billion global company. This is the wild, true story of Brian Chesky, the founder of Airbnb. He was born in August 1981 in Niskayuna, upstate New York. Both his parents were dedicated, hard-working social workers in a small town. His childhood home was quiet, modest, deeply caring, and filled with warm love. From age 3, he was completely obsessed with drawing everything he could see. He sketched cartoons, sneakers, furniture, faces, and the contents of cereal boxes constantly. His parents worried he might never find a real serious career doing only art. At 14, he discovered bodybuilding and pushed his thin frame in the gym. He also played competitive ice hockey, balancing rough sports with quiet, endless drawing. He won a scholarship to the Rhode Island School of Design after years. At RISD, he was assigned a freshman roommate named Joe Gebbia from Georgia. The two design students bonded instantly over wild ideas and late-night sketches. Brian graduated in 2004 with a degree in industrial design. He moved to Los Angeles to design products for a small Disney studio. He spent 2 boring years designing little plastic objects nobody really seemed to care. He felt deeply unfulfilled, restless, and convinced his life was slowly slipping away. In 2007, Joe Gebbia called him from San Francisco with a proposal. Brian quit his job, packed his car, and drove north with $1,000. He arrived broke and slept on the floor of Joe's tiny San Francisco apartment. A few weeks later, their rent suddenly increased, and they could not afford it. A massive design conference was coming, and every hotel room was completely sold out. Joe joked that they could rent air mattresses to attendees for 1 weekend. Brian laughed, but then realized the idea was actually brilliant in a strange way. They built a simple website called Airbed and Breakfast in just 1 week. They blew up 3 air mattresses and charged $80 per night with breakfast. 3 strangers actually showed up and slept on the floor of their living room. Brian made them pancakes and gave them a personal map of his favorite spot. The guests loved the experience, and the founders realized they had stumbled onto something. They convinced their old engineer friend Nathan Blecharczyk to join as technical co-founder. The 3 young men spent all of 2008 begging investors for money. Every single venture capitalist they pitched politely rejected the strange, unproven mattress idea. They were buried in over $20,000 of personal credit card debt. During the 2008 presidential election, they had a desperate, wild new idea. They designed limited edition cereal boxes called Obama O's and Captain McCain's by hand. They sold them for $40 each and made $30,000 in weeks. That weird cereal hack literally kept the entire company alive through the brutal winter. In early 2009, Y Combinator finally accepted them into the legendary program. Paul Graham famously said, "If these crazy cockroach people survive, what could stop them?" After Y Combinator, they raised $600,000 from Sequoia Capital that spring. They renamed the company Airbnb and slowly began expanding city by city worldwide. Growth was painfully slow because renting rooms was actually illegal in New York City. Brian flew to New York and personally photographed every host apartment for free himself. By 2011, Airbnb hit a $1 billion valuation and became a unicorn. Brian was suddenly a paper billionaire founder at only 30 years old that year. In 2014, a massive racial discrimination scandal exploded across the Airbnb platform. Black guests were being rejected by hosts, and the public outrage was loud everywhere. Brian personally led the response, adding strict anti-discrimination policies across the entire platform. By 2017, Airbnb was valued at $30 billion across many countries. Then, in March of 2020, the pandemic hit, and bookings collapsed completely. Bookings dropped 80% in a single week, and the company nearly died overnight. Brian had to lay off 25% of his loyal global staff suddenly. He wrote a heartfelt personal letter that became famous across the entire business world. He gave laptops, severance, and extended health insurance to every laid-off Airbnb employee. The pandemic ironically pushed people away from hotels and toward rural Airbnb rentals worldwide. The slogan "Hosts, not hotels" became the new rallying cry for the recovering company. Bookings exploded back faster than anyone predicted, and and the company quietly prepared going public. In December 2020, Airbnb went public at a $100 billion valuation. On the very first trading day, the stock more than doubled in just hours. Brian Chesky instantly became one of the richest self-made tech founders alive today. He still lives in a relatively modest San Francisco house with only 2 dogs. He has never married and reportedly dates Hollywood actress Alyssa Patel quite privately now. He sleeps in different Airbnb listings around the world to stay close to hosts. He sketches new product ideas constantly in worn notebooks, just like he did before. He says drawing remains the single most important habit of his entire creative life. He still works obsessive 80-hour weeks, despite his $11 billion net worth. He is now reinventing Airbnb with new AI search features and expanded experience offering. He dreams of building the future of how all humans live, travel, and connect. From 3 air mattresses on a floor to a $100 billion global empire,